Hello everyone, Anthony here.
Yes.
I do have cornrows now. My neighbor did them yesterday. What they mean to me, and this video isn't about that, we'll get into what sparked this and everything in a little bit, but what they mean to me is a sense of community and friendship and acceptance into that community where we all care about each other. As some of you guys know, my neighborhood is predominantly black. I don't get along with all of them. I tried making friends with some of the black people that live in the same building as me, in the same not in the same apartment, in an apartment in the same building as me. And that one girl said, "You're not the type of person we associate with." Uh, I'm not gonna try to force an assumption onto this about what it meant or whatever because I don't know. I'm not that type of person, but it could be like, oh, it could have meant like, oh, we don't like white people, or it could have been just because I was awkward and made her uncomfortable, which she did say that she felt uncomfortable around me as well. So who knows why that was or whatever. But I also don't get along with all of the white people on my block either. There's this one white woman who was actually, she's quite nasty and she always steals the kids' balls when they accidentally get kicked into her lawn, into her yard. But there are three black families on my block that I'm really close with and think of them as like really close friends and like family. They're the closest relationships that I have at this point in my life. Uh, and having the one black woman do my hair, it brings us together as I don't get to hang out with them that much uh, as I used to in this past summer, uh, due to it getting colder out and the kids going back to school and everything like that. And these black families give me like I said, like a sense of family as I don't have like blood relatives of my own. I do in Long Island. I don't really get along with them or anything, and I live in Pennsylvania, and they also give me like a sense of family, as in like I don't have wife and kids of my own to like look after and protect and communicate with and all that. So in that sense, like I do understand how dreadlocks can have a personal meaning behind them, and I would not want to cut mine off because that takes away interactions that I have with people that I like. Like I go over there and do my hair every couple months and get to see everyone and talk to everyone and all that. And I feel like cutting them off, it would take away something from my life that I feel that I really need and benefit from. And so also relating to the story that I'm going to get into, back when I was 16 to 18, around that time, I think a little bit older too, I had like really long hair, like down to my shoulders. And I grew my hair this long because I really like listening to the Strokes, and Nick Valenci was my favorite guitarist, favorite member of that band. He's actually the person who got me into playing guitar and finding so many awesome guitarists afterwards, uh, which then came to Stevie Ray Vaughan and then like Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix and all these guitar players. And with my long hair back then, I guess I was hoping to fit in with the other kids that grew their hair long in high school, who I thought were cooler than me and stuff like that. But I never tried talking to them. I was like too nervous and afraid of being rejected and whatever. And they never approached me either. But I guess in that sense, like my long hair back then also had cultural meaning behind it and a sense of belonging behind it as well. I guess that's the same as like this, I guess, like an extreme example or whatever, but like if you go and dress like all gothic and then approach another person that's dressed all gothic and stuff, they're gonna know like, oh, you're one of us or whatever. So that's the same thing that like my long hair meant to me back then. However, that didn't stop my jobs at McDonald's and a local supermarket from threatening to fire me if I didn't get my hair cut. McDonald's I can understand since I was working with food, and I'm reading here off of what I wrote earlier. But yeah, McDonald's I can understand because I was working with food and stuff, and they required their employees to wear a McDonald's logoed baseball hat, regardless of your hairstyle, to prevent your hair getting into food and stuff. Actually, they never had hairnets or anything, and it wasn't until my job when I was 19, working at a pizza factory where they made and sold pizzas to schools and prisons. That's the first experience that I had with hairnets and beard nets as well, because I had a really long beard too. Yeah, so I was surprised McDonald's didn't have any hairnets or anything like that. But however, when I was told to cut my hair at that job, my hair was actually shorter than all of the girls who worked there too, and McDonald's never offered a hairnet to me. Like I said, they just told me to cut it or get fired. And at the supermarket, I bagged groceries and brought in the shopping carts there. Their reason for not letting me have long hair had more to do with not looking presentable to their customers, or how they wanted their employees to look and be perceived or whatever. Not once did I ever think that I could argue with them that my hair had cultural meaning behind it, and that I could use that as a defense to cut it. I was just like, oh, that's the rules of the job, I guess. Back in 2016, I was told by, well, I'll just show you the stuff now. But yeah, back in 2016, I was told by my black friend's mother that I couldn't be in her house if I was wearing this Navajo jewelry. I have this, I have a couple rings, and one of these bracelets too. I forget what these were called, but I guess these are made, from what I read, when you put them on your wrist, when you pull a bow back, it stops your wrist from getting broken, I guess. But yeah, so I was told by the black mother that I couldn't be in her house if I was wearing that jewelry, because white people stole that jewelry from Native Americans when they took over America or whatever. I never argued with her what the jewelry meant to me. Like I said, I didn't even think that was a thing I could argue. But the reasons that I wore it was because my favorite musicians at the time, Stevie Ray Vaughan and John Mayer, wore squash blossom necklaces, and that the jewelry gave me a sense of strength and security, that I felt like more powerful and secure. Not powerful as in like, oh, I can dominate you or whatever, but powerful in a sense of just being strong enough to emotionally handle the stuff that was going on in my life and all that. And I never argued that my ancestors are Italian immigrants who came over in the 1920s and had nothing to do with forming America or taking over whatever. Instead, I just took my jewelry off because it was her house and her rules. And today I don't wear the jewelry for two reasons. Because I don't want to cause trouble with, like, this was like a gigantic big deal with this black woman, so I don't wear it anymore because I have black neighbors. I don't want the same situation to happen, even though I've talked to a couple of them about it, and they're like, wear the jewelry if you like it, like it has your own meaning to it, like don't let other people put shit onto you or whatever. And I also don't wear it for another reason, which I don't want to attract too much attention to myself and be seen like wearing all this jewelry and everything, which like it gets kind of unavoidable driving the BMW and stuff. But anyway, let's get into this story. So this story came into my news feed on Google. I guess Google recommended it to me because I was looking up dreadlocks and cornrows and stuff recently. Essentially what happened is that there was a wrestling match. I guess this happened December of 2018, and the referee told one of the wrestlers that he had to cut off his dreadlocks because they were longer than what the rule book allowed. That referee was then suspended for 2 years because he was racist. I'm going to read some of these stories, some of these news articles to you now. So this first one is from CNN, and this is the initial article that I saw. It says, A referee in New Jersey who pressured a varsity wrestler into cutting off his dreadlocks has been suspended for 2 seasons, state officials announced Wednesday. So first, like the pressuring thing, I can understand that. Like, if you tell someone that they like if their hair is too long and doesn't follow the rule books, you're gonna pressure them into cutting it off or demand that they cut it off because what else are you gonna do? I don't see any other option there. The referee, Alan Maloney, told the teenager that he would have to forfeit the day's match if his dreadlocks were uncovered. An investigation into the controversial 2018 incident led to an agreement between the Division of Civil Rights and the New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association to suspend Maloney. The agreement also calls for implicit bias training for officials and staff involved in high school athletics across New Jersey. So then this bias training thing reminds me of that Starbucks incident where a couple black guys came into Starbucks and sat there for like an hour, 2 hours, and then one of them like not buying anything. And one of the managers or the manager told them to leave. And yeah, then like all of Starbucks had to, like every single Starbucks had to go to racial sensitivity training because the manager kicked out a loiterer to continue. CNN has reached out to Maloney several times, including Wednesday, but has not received a response. There's another article where apparently Maloney is suing the New Jersey State New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association for defamation or whatever. What's interesting in all these articles too, like you don't see any quotes from this referee or anything. Like it's just like pretty much they're putting this story onto you about what this referee said and did or whatever, but you don't see any videos, any actions, any words of what he actually said or did or anything like that. Anyway, Maloney is white, and the news release about the agreement says that the wrestler Andrew Johnson identifies as mixed race. This is vindictive, Johnson's attorney Dominic Spizzelli told the Philadelphia Inquirer. This entire incident happened based on nothing he did wrong. What do you mean he did nothing wrong? Like he wasn't following the rules. In December, Maloney told Johnson, a student of Buana Regional High School, to cover his hair or forfeit. Johnson could not find hair covering that met with the rules. I haven't heard anything about what specific requirements there are for hair coverings or whatever, but I'll look into that in this video. Faced with the forfeit, the 16-year-old wrestler had a trainer cut his hair. Video of the trainer cutting Jackson's hair on the mat went viral, prompting criticism from professional athletes and celebrities. So it seems like what happened here, like looking at this video, and for copyright reasons, I can't show it, but this woman that's cutting his hair is doing it like angrily and out of spite, I guess, like out of spite for the coach or whatever, which is kind of like just a complete disregard of the rules. The New Jersey Attorney General Grubbier Gruel, let's just see what he looks like. Okay, so the Attorney General is like an Arab guy. I don't want to get his race wrong, so let's see in Wikipedia. So it says he's fluent in Punjabi and Hindi languages, and that also he's the first Sikh American, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it, first Sikh American Attorney General in the United States history. And it says Sikhism is a religion originating from South Asia and was introduced during the 19th century to the United States. All right, so he says racial discrimination is the enforcement of the rules of any sport. Racial discrimination in the enforcement of the rules in any sport is inconsistent with the spirit of fair play. We're talking about fair competition in sports. I don't see how hair changes competition. If anything, long hair would make competition harder for a person with long hair because then they have the hair in their face and get at risk of being pulled or anything. I also see like they can use it as an excuse to call a foul on the other player or whatever. Like, oh, he pulled my hair, and saying like, oh, the other wrestler or other player wasn't being sportsmanlike because he pulled the person's hair or whatever. But meanwhile, your hair is like ridiculously long and it can easily accidentally be grabbed and stuff like that. Anyway, the Division of Civil Rights Action today makes it less likely that any student athlete will have to endure discrimination that not only undermines fair competition but also violates our state laws. In the memorandum of agreement, the parties note Johnson told the Civil Rights Agency investigator that he didn't think that he would be allowed to wrestle unless he cut his hair, so he told a trainer to cut it. Well, yeah, that's true. You wouldn't be allowed to wrestle if you're not following the rules. The trainer asked the referee what to cut, and Maloney allegedly said something like, "Cut it until I say so." Johnson told the investigator, according to the memo. In this video, you don't see like the referee around at all when he's getting his hair cut and stuff like that. So I don't know about that allegedly thing. According to the memo, Maloney disputed Johnson's testimony and told investigators he did not give instructions on how to cut the wrestler's hair and said it was Johnson's coach who told the trainer to cut his hair. He said he was not talking with the trainer or coaches, the agreement says, which, according to the video evidence that I just said, seems like that was the case. A coach, however, told the investigator that the referee did tell the trainer when to stop and then the match took place, which that might be possible too. Like if you know the rules and you're the one enforcing the rules, like, oh, your hair only can be this long or whatever, it does make sense to say like when that's okay, when it's short enough. Even though in this video the woman's cutting it off right at the root of his hair, so it's not like she was going gingerly at it, only cutting off little by little. And it doesn't seem like he was demanding it, saying like, cut it until I say so. Hair length rules have changed, said Larry White, the executive director of the NJSIAA, which oversees school sports in the state. We are confident that those changes, together with the training programs NJSIAA will be developing in collaboration with the Civil Rights Division, will ensure that a situation like this does not happen again in the future. I think that's like all I really need to go into as far as reading articles and stuff. I do want to look up these rules and how they were changed and everything though first. All right, so I did find the rules and regulations for this thing. So if we look here, so this first one, wrestlers opting to wear a legal hair cover must wear it to the weigh-in and be checked for grooming. The legal hair cover must be removed prior to the wrestler stepping on scale. So that's another thing. Like if this wrestler passed the weigh-in, then I don't know. Is it the referee's? If this wrestler passed the weigh-in with his long hair, is it the referee's job to like overrule what the weigh-in said? And if the weigh-in said that he was fine or whatever with his hair as it was, is it the referee's job to overrule that? It also says the actual weight of each contestant. An assigned official will check each wrestler for weight, proper hair grooming, facial hair, and fingernail length before being permitted to wrestle. Nothing that I could find says anything about the length of your hair. I haven't found anything that says how long your hair can be. So then this other one that I see from the, these are both from the NJSIAA, says an approved hair covering as part of NFHS Rule 4-2.2 is to be presented at weigh-in. So I look here at the NFHS.org. Rule 4, Article 2 says any manufacturer's logo, trademark, reference that appears on the wrestling uniform, including legal hair covering, can be no more than 2 1/4 square inches with no dimensions more than 2 1/4 inches and may appear no more than once on each item of uniform apparel. So that's like that big. How are you going to cover hair with that Then this other one, the 2018-2019 NFHS Wrestling Rules Interpretations, Situation 17 says, does braided hair that is non-abrasive need to be contained in a legal hair cover? Ruling, if the hair is in its natural state is longer than allowed by rule, then it must be contained in a legal hair cover. 4-2-1. I still can't find anything about how long hair can be or whatever. Also, like these rules, looking at this USA, I almost said USDA today, USA Today article, these rules were updated and changed after this incident. So I don't understand why this guy should be suspended if there was clearly a problem with the rules to where the rules needed to be changed. Then why is this guy being suspended if he was following the rules the best that he could or whatever? I don't know. I just went for a drive to think about it more. I actually was thinking so deeply about it that I was stopped at a stop sign for probably a good 2 minutes thinking that it was a red light. And then someone finally pulled up behind me and beeped at me to get me to go. But yeah, that just doesn't make sense to me, how you suspend someone and then you update your rules after you suspend them. Like, obviously your rules had something wrong with them to begin with that you have to update them. I don't know. I was trying to think of examples. I couldn't come up with any that I feel are really good, but imagine like you have a girlfriend and you go to hold her hand in public and she pulls away and is like, no, and then later explains to you that she doesn't want her hand held in public and doesn't like her handheld being in public. Do you think it's right to break up with you for that? Like, you guys just redefine the rules right there. So why should she break up with you? You're not breaking the rule that's newly redefined. In the future, like if you keep doing it in the future, then yeah, you're not respecting her wishes or whatever. I don't know. That was just one example that I could think of. All right, take care, guys. Good night. Thank you.